morning, August 1st, Saturday, August 1st, 2026. The summer is really flying by. You know, I remember savoring the summer uh, probably more as an adult because for me, I had kids, I had a family, and when you're a parent, especially a single parent, the school year can add stress. You have to make sure the kids are doing well in school, they're doing their homework, that they have lunch for school, that they get up in the morning, that they're taken to the doctor. So the summertime was, even though I worked full time, the summer life was a little easier for me because of the weather was warmer and I didn't have to worry about school anymore. So anyway, I'm thinking about right now because it's the summer's flying by and I don't have to worry about sending kids to school anymore. And I don't have to worry about cold New York winters. And I don't have to worry about going to a full time job. But I still want the summer to last forever. I enjoy the summer. I'm a summer baby. But anyway, uh, what's the subject? This needing a reason to live in Las Vegas. For me, needing a reason to stay in Las Vegas. See, this is my third summer living in Las Vegas, and my first summer a couple years ago, I was thinking about leaving at the end of June. I couldn't take it. I wasn't used to the heat, and what really was pushing the envelope for me was the fact that I lived in one of these old beat up weekly apartments, and in the winter time the heat wasn't working. I kept calling the guy, and he kept telling me all kinds of stupid tricks, but he wasn't able to. He would fix it. It would work for 10 minutes, and it would stop working. But you know, the winters in Vegas are not so bad. I was able to manage in the apartment at night. Because it's only cold maybe in January. That's about it. So I managed for the month of January just to layer up in my apartment. But then when the summer came, it was my first summer with temperatures exceeding 100 degrees. Being in an apartment with no air conditioning, gave me a very, very bad taste of the air. I remember at nighttime, only the fan would work in the air conditioning, and having like the couch right up against the fan, stripping down, just trying to get any kind of cool. That was enough to make me want to leave Las Vegas. But I remember I was talking to one of my coworkers. I'm like, I don't know why I'm sticking around here, and he's like, you mean like maybe you need a reason to live here? That's what he said. And I started thinking about that. I need a reason to live here. For a lot of people, they have their parents here, they have their kids here, they have their family here, they have a spouse here, they have a job, they grew up here. Maybe the military brought them. They have something that gives them a reason for wanting to stay here. So at that time, 2 years ago, I had to evaluate what are my reasons for staying here. And I ended up leaving that summer. I did. I traveled across the USA. I went to New York, and I was considering living in another city. Maybe I was thinking about Chicago, but I ended up coming back to Vegas, and I found out what my reason is for staying in Las Vegas. And that reason is me. That's the reason. This is home to me. This is where I can't see myself living anywhere else. And I'll tell you why, a number of the reasons why. For one thing, okay, I'm a city boy. I lived in the New York City area. I worked and lived in the New York City area most of my life. And even though my whole life I was waiting for the day when I could finally get out of New York, when I wouldn't have to work there anymore, when I wouldn't have to deal with another winter, New York winter, brutal winter, and struggling and working more than one job and fighting the traffic and the ice and the snow and the crazy drivers and all the stress, you know, as much as I couldn't wait to get out of New York, It's hard to take the city boy out of me. I don't do well in rural, remote areas. As much as I like small town folks, as much as I like nature, as much as I like lakes and mountains and trees and the birds, most of my life, most of the time, I do not have an automobile. In order to live in a rural area, in a small town environment, out in the country, you need transportation. You need a set of wheels. Like I mentioned, I find it hard to maintain a set of wheels because it costs something called money. And I don't feel like stressing out. I did that already, okay? I prioritize the basics: a roof over my head, food, electricity. You know, I don't want to walk around with no pennies in my pocket. But that's one reason why I need to be near a city. I don't do well. Another thing, I don't do well in the wintertime. I don't do well in cold. So I couldn't handle being in a city where it gets frigid and cold and brutal and icy and snow for a good part of the winter. Other reasons why I like Vegas, all right, yeah, you can get around the car. It's not cold. People pretty much in Vegas act the way they act in New York City. It's a city. Strangers don't talk to strangers. Everybody does their own thing. Everybody goes about their own business. You're into sports. You're into gambling. You're into strip clubs. You're into, you know, people talk to each other if they want to talk, but you can live your own business. You live in a small town. All your neighbors know you have to say hello to everybody. Everybody's in each other's business. So that's another reason why I stay in Vegas. Another reason I like staying in Vegas because there's no state income taxes. I don't feel like having to worry about owing taxes not only to the federal government, to the state. Vegas has all kinds of entertainment. There's always something to do. Everything's open 24 hours a day. Uh, I'm sure I could think of it. It's close to California. I can get to LA in 4 hours. But the main thing is I'm out of the cold. I can't deal with the cold. I can't handle the cold winters. So these are my reasons for staying in Vegas. And I just wanted to talk about that. I was actually going to put it in a comedy act, but it didn't sound so funny. So I thought, let me just talk about it here for 20, 30 minutes and move on. And that's all I got to say. Have a great day.